Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to the second book of the Torah, the book of Exodus, the book of Shemot. We open up with the story of baby Moses, who rises to become a shepherd to Jethro, his father-in-law, and ultimately becoming the shepherd for the Jewish people. There's a fascinating verse in this week's parasha, which is so fundamental to understanding about our lives and how we view the world and how we act within the world, that it's worthwhile pausing and just reflecting upon it. The verse says, "And Pharaoh died, and the people cried out to God, and God remembered, and Moses was a shepherd." What's the juxtaposition between the death of Pharaoh, God remembering, and Moses being a shepherd? The answer is very powerful. The fact that Pharaoh died was a historical event. The fact that the people cried meant that finally the people had found their voice. They could no longer sustain the pain of the slavery and the sacrifice that had been put through. But the most important concept was, and Moses was the shepherd. In order for this all to work, Moses had to be ready. Because you can have the historical event, but the people not anticipating, not crying out, being so numb to the situation that they're not ready to go out. They're just not interested. They're not ready. You can have the people ready, but the shepherd not ready either. Too young, not engaged, not prepared, not experienced enough. And the whole thing could not work. And thus, for the divine plan to work, to bring the Jewish people out of Egypt, it had to have these components in place. The historical event, the people ready, and the leader who will take them out also ready. And this is a fundamental issue regards to how we view our lives and our roles and our careers and where we stand as people. Because we sometimes think to ourselves, I'm ready, when we aren't really. I'd like to share you with a story. When I finished studying at yeshiva, I saw an advert for a job. And I applied for the job and I said, I'm the perfect guy. I've spent years in yeshiva, I've got my degree, I've got my smicha, I can take on this role. To which the person said to me, but you've got no experience. How are you supposed to lead a team if you've never led a team? And this is a senior role. You have no experience. Get the basics and then come back to me. When I heard this advice, I was so upset. But on reflection, it was the greatest piece of advice I could have heard. Because the truth is, I was definitely not ready. Just because I had the piece of paper didn't mean I was qualified to do the job. I needed time to work on myself, to learn the trade, to learn the skills, to become the person who could lead. And thus, the parsha tells us that in order for Moses to lead the Jewish people, he needed to have time to work as a shepherd, learning how to tend the flock, in order to care for each individual sheep, know their needs, protect them, care for them, and ensure that they could be brought back to their master. And once Moses had absorbed that skill, he was ready. But were the people ready? Pharaoh was still in power. But once the Pharaoh died, and the people realized that with this new Pharaoh in charge, things were not changing, they found their voice and they started to cry out. The people were now ready. And the shepherd himself was ready. But even though Moses was ready, it did not mean he was going to take on the job. Imagine if he had been tending his sheep and seen the burning bush and just said, wow, that's strange, and continue walking. History would have been completely different. But because Moses was there at the right time, right situation, right person, it worked. And thus, when I look around ourselves and our own lives and our own careers and our own career paths, we need to realize as follows. Sometimes it can be right situation, wrong me. Sometimes it's right me, wrong situation. The blessing is when all the pieces can merge together to create the perfect situation for you to be successful. But even then, even though all the pieces were in place, God still spent a week arguing with Moses to take the role. Humility of Moses meant he felt he couldn't do it. when God saw that he could. So when we're placed in the situation and the opportunity presents itself and you got the preparation behind you, go for it. Shabbat Shalom. Hi, this is Rabbi Lewin. If you've enjoyed the content of the sermons and the ideas that have been expressed in the YouTube video, please hit that subscription button and notification bell and share the videos with friends. We'd love to grow the channel and love to engage with you. Please share your comments in the section below. I'd love to hear from you. Have an amazing day.